You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Just because I walk as if I have oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my sassiness upset you? Don't take it so hard just because I laugh, as if I have gold mines digging in my own backyard. You can shoot me with your words, you can cut me with your lies, you can kill me with your hatefulness, but just like life, I rise. Does my sexiness offend you? Oh. Does it come as a surprise that I dance as if I have diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from a past rooted in pain I rise. A black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling and bearing in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear I rise. Into a daybreak miraculously clear I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave. And so, wow. There I go.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Sonia Della Torre, and I have the distinct privilege of serving as the Interim Dean of Student Equity at Long Beach City College. This month, Lbcc is celebrating Women's History. I'd like to begin by thanking the Board of Trustees, senior leadership, and faculty and staff of the Women's History Month Committee for their continued support and contributions to our programming throughout the month. Today's event is a special collaboration that I'm so excited about between the Student Equity Office and the Justice Scholars Club, entitled Resiliency and Advocacy, Women Impacted by the Criminal Justice System. This event ties nicely with the theme for this year's Women History Month programming, which is Voice, Visibility, Empowerment. Voice is about the importance of sharing the diverse experiences of women. Visibility is about creating a space for women to share their diverse stories. And empowerment highlights the ways in which voice and visibility position women to create empowering narratives that allow them to live in their truth that's not imposed by anyone else. At the same time, this theme requires us to call attention to the ways in which systems of power historically and presently aim to oppress women, yet we resist and we rise. Women have been and continue to be at the forefront, leading important equity work to change these systems of oppression. Today's event is a great example of how women are leading important equity work now, while accentuating the long-standing role of women in fighting for justice. With that said, I would like to invite Dr. Anahita Madhavi, Associate Professor in the Department of Social Sciences, to formally introduce our incredible speaker tonight. Dr. Madhavi is Program Lead to Human Services and Addiction Studies, Faculty Coordinator for the Justice Scholars Program, and Faculty Advisor to the Justice Scholars Club. So please join me in a warm welcome to Dr. Madhavi. And once again, thank you so much for joining us today for this incredibly important event.
Thank you so much, Dean Sonia Della Torre, for that wonderful welcoming remarks. This event would not be possible with your amazing support, constant support of students and constant support of social justice. I appreciate you in Long Beach City College. You are a breath of fresh air, Dean Sonia. If I was going to read the bio for Miss Suzanne Burton, we probably needed 5-6 hours just to talk about her amazing journey, who she is, what she's done. She's definitely one of my heroes, and I know she's a hero to so many students. So I will do my best to do a good job introducing Miss Burton. Miss Burton is an activist who was born and raised in Los Angeles, growing up in housing projects in East LA. She has faced many traumas in her life, including the tragedy of losing her 5-year-old son, who was accidentally killed by was hit and killed by police cruiser in 1982. Consumed with grief and heartbreak, and without any access to support system, as we know, there is not so much out there, Miss Burton was in and out of prison and trapped in this vicious cycle of injustices and the recidivism. Having experienced firsthand challenges such as housing insecurities, unemployment, and no access to affordable rehabilitation centers, once she receives some support, she decided that she will go ahead and find her own organization, A New Way of Life, where she works with formerly incarcerated people, especially women, providing services and resources. As I said, Ms. Burton is a national and international champion of justice and hero to many. She has won many awards that you saw at the beginning of the Zoom. The list of it is ongoing. But in 2011, she was named a CNN hero, and 2012, she was named the Purpose Prize winner. And of course, last but not least, the amazing book that I never get tired of reading, when she published in 2017, co-authored by Carrie Lynn and a foreword by Michelle Alexander. I know that we want to hear from Ms. Burton, but I have to read this paragraph before I give the floor to our hero, Ms. Burton. So please bear with me. The book you hold in your hands right now is not simply a story about a formerly incarcerated woman dedicated to working for justice and freedom in the era of mass incarceration. It is a story of a Black woman who, as she often tells me, is nothing special and yet has somehow managed to transform her own life, as well as hundreds of lives around her. She has emerged as a leading figure in the movement to end mass incarceration, always leading by an example, but never leading alone. This book tells the story of one woman known to staff and residents as Miss Burton, but it also tells much broader universal story about the utter fragility and heartbreaking resilience of human spirit, even in the face of severe sexual, physical, and emotional abuse. In the end, this is a story about how an entire system of oppressive rules, laws, policies, and practices has failed to permanently crush one woman's spirit and the spirits of many women who walk through the doors of New Way of Life. Though surely the system has tried. To borrow the poetry of Maya Angelou, and still like dust they rise. This was by Michelle Alexander in the book. Ms. Suzanne Burton, it is such an honor for us to have you here. You are my hero. You inspired us with your work. I have worked with you when we started the Justice Scholars. You gave us many guidance and tips, and we owe you. And again, it's a blessing to have you here. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mahdavi. And I want to thank Dean De La Torre. Do I have that right?
Sonia De La Torre.
Sonia
That was perfect, Ms. Burton. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm odd and I'm honored by, just what can happen and what can be done when people stay the course. And Dr. Mahadavi, I remember when I was there a few years ago, and we were talking about the scholars program and just trying to connect it and develop it. And now it's just like booming, roaring. I hear all about it. Congratulations to you and, the ongoing support of people who just want to find a way up and out. And we know that education is I want to call it kind of like a silver bullet to stability and to jobs and to, broadening our mind and connecting. Education is just so important to that. And somehow through life's paths, we get derailed from education, and money that's spent locking us up could be well spent in education. I served 6 prison terms, so I always say that's like 6 degrees, right? They could have paid for 6 different degrees, but instead I got 6 W numbers, so it is what it is. And I love the Maya Angelou poem, but still I rise. Just given a break and an opportunity, one opportunity changed the entire course of my life. So as Dr. Mojave said, I was born and raised in Los Angeles County, raised in a housing project in East Los Angeles called Aliso Village. And in Aliso Village, there was just so much going on there. I remember playing on the dirt road, but I also remember hiding from people on the dirt road that were going to harm me. And I went through so much until so many different forms of abuse. And there came a time when my body could no longer hold the disappointment, the pain, the anger, the rage after my son was killed. Everything just turned to rage, and the rage was so stifling. I tried to join it. I tried to drown it. I tried to drink it away. I tried to sleep it away. I tried to smoke it away. And the smoke part landed me in prison. It was during the time when maybe some of you remember when our communities became saturated with crack cocaine, and it was almost like locusts descending on our communities in the form of cocaine, in the form of crack, and it was everywhere. And it destroyed our communities. It destroyed our dreams. It destroyed our hopes. It destroyed our integrity. It destroyed our character. And we got locked up. Women got locked up in just droves. So, women from that period, all of these prisons were built and invested in, and women became the fastest growing segment of the criminal justice system. Our incarceration rates went up 700% in a matter of a couple of decades. California built the biggest women's prison in the world. And, the women that go to prison, people that go to prison, 95% of us are coming home. And we come home to so many barriers, so many obstacles, I remember it wasn't until a couple of years ago we were unable to even get a Pell Grant. You know, the discrimination was rampant. We couldn't get Pell Grants. We couldn't get housing. We couldn't get jobs. We couldn't get our children back. We couldn't get licensing. You know, um, the American science. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's in the book. Um, Documented over 45,000 legal sanctions and practices and barriers for people with a criminal conviction. And when I was going in and out of prison, I would think like something's wrong with me. Why can't I get it together? And it wasn't until after I opened a new way of life, I began to understand the structural, the structural barriers, the structural racism that I faced, the class, um, sexism, you know, homophobia, all of these things that impacted our society and the opportunity that people were afforded or not afforded. So after 6 times of going to prison, I found help, and it wasn't like I didn't ask the courts to help me. I can remember one day in the courtroom telling the judge much of what I'd been through and asking that judge for help, and that judge sent me out of the courtroom in handcuffs, sentenced to 2 years instead of 3 years in prison. So I guess my little plea got me a year shorter, but what I needed was a help. I needed investment. I needed someone to believe in me. I needed to understand my addiction and all of the harms that I had been through in my lifetime. So October 4th of 1997, I literally stumbled my way into a treatment center in Santa Monica, California. And in that treatment center, I got a break. I got help. I got support. I got compassion. I got resources. I got all the things that I had been needing for decades and decades and decades. Um, I had got all the things I'd say I had been needing all of my life. Um, and with those resources, I got counseling, dental services, just so much help. And I was able to get sober and stay sober. I think I'm 23 years sober. I'll be 24 this year. But I was able to get on a path of healing. I was able to begin to understand what happened, and understand that it was not all of my fault. Yeah, I had took some options, but what I really needed was not there for me. And I began to see how people with wealth are treated so differently from people who are poor. I began to see people with the same crime as my crime. They would get a court card to go to AA meetings. They would do community service. They would get referred to drug court. There were so many other ways, and much more effective ways, that they were afforded that I was never ever afforded. And I began to kind of get angry about it, but also I understood that there was another way, that recovery was possible. Compassion worked. Dignity was afforded me. And, I began to rise. Like Maya Angelou talked about, it was almost like a phoenix. I was down to damn near nothing, and I began to rise. And I began to build character, and I began to have some dignity. And then I thought about I began to redevelop my dignity, I believe. I began to dream. I began to have hopes for the future, and I hadn't had any hope for I don't think all of my life. I remember, one of the practices at the one of the practices at the recovery center was morning meditation, and in the morning meditation we would set goals, small goals for ourselves. And it seemed like that was the first time I'd even set a goal. All my life, I had been ducking and dodging and managing trauma and managing difficult situations and managing this and managing that and scraping for this and scraping for that. And I began to set goals, and every day I'd achieve my goals. And that was so esteem building. But then I began to think about, what if there was a place in South LA, like there in Santa Monica, and women who were coming home from prison, getting off the bus downtown Skid Row, what if they too had a place in their community to come to? And I guess it was it was a dream. So if there are you on this Zoom, and you think about what can happen, or you have dreams of doing things, don't lose your dream. Work your dream. A day at a time. Build your dream, because it's a day at a time. For a year, I saved my little money. I had a little minimum wage job, and I lived in with as a caregiver, and I saved all of my money, and I got a little house. By this time, I'm, a year and a half sober, and I get this little house, and I begin to go down to the bus station where women are getting off the bus, and I greet them. They're my friends. They're my community. They're my homegirls, and I'm offering them a place to come live. And I offer them a place, a bed at the house, and in no time we had a community of formerly incarcerated women helping each other, supporting one another, pooling our money together to pay rent, pooling our money together to buy food, pooling our money together, going to 12-step meetings together, supporting one another, laughing with each other, crying with each other. And we all recovered. We all recovered. All of us were recovering. All of us got better. All of us grew. And I'm gonna fast forward. You know, that house, I walked out, in that house, I was watching women losing their babies because they had nowhere to take them. They were doing everything the court told them to do. They were going to parenting. They were doing anger management. They were doing everything the court wanted them to do, but they could not afford to get a house for them and their children or their child. And therefore they would lose their parental rights and lose their child forever. And it felt like I was losing my child over and over again. And what happened is I walked out of the house one day and went into the store directly across the street, fell down in that store and broke my leg. And when that settled, I got a house for women and children, and we began to do advocacy for family reunification. And I began to see that it wasn't just me, that there was a big setup all in every area, and that that I needed to fight. Having a house was good, but I needed to fight to restore our rights. I needed to fight the level, all these areas of discrimination. We needed to get people to invest in us and not in prisons. And that's been an ongoing struggle, ongoing advocacy. So, you know, I'm about 21, 22 years down the road from opening the house. So right now there are 10 houses that A New Way of Life runs. We have a family reunification department. We have 2 lawyers on staff in that family reunification department. And we also have a social worker and a visiting monitor. We have an all-officer none organizing policy and advocacy department that organizes the voices of formerly incarcerated people. We have a legal department that does post-conviction relief. We do leadership development, what we call WOJO, Women Organizing for Justice and Opportunity. And what I want to tell you, the dream started with just the idea of that we can help. If I could help women come home in that house, and it just, you know, showing up every day, it just took off one day at a time. So don't be daunted by any dream that you can have. If you can dream it, you can do it. 2017, I wrote the book because, you know, I wrote the book to tell the story of women who were incarcerated. I feel like it's not just my story, it's the story of millions and millions of women across this nation and in other parts of the world. When I wrote the book, you know, I couldn't even find any stats and information about women and incarceration. And it just spoke to the disinvestment. Not even researchers were doing research around women and incarceration, the disinterest in women. All the conversation were about men. And, you know, I needed to put women in the conversation. And I think the book has started to do that. One of the things I did when I wrote the book was I had this thought about going and giving the book and doing readings inside of jails and prisons. So in 2018, I went to 60 different prisons or jails, you know, county jails, state prisons, and federal prisons. And I sat down and did readings with women. I raised the money to print 12,000 books. I have about, COVID hit, so, you know, I have about 500 or 600 more of those books that's left out of those 12,000. But I went all over the world. I went to Kenya, I went to Uganda, I went to Norway, I went all over the United States, and I sat down and I did readings with women. And after I read, I gave them a copy of the book, Becoming Miss Burton. So that book looks like this book, and it says, this is that book that and the little star on the inside says, you know, includes a special letter from Susan Burton to people behind bars. I want to read that letter to you, and then I'm gonna just tell you a little bit about what came out of those trips and where I am right now and the work that I'm doing right now. So it says, "Dear friend, for many years I was caught in America's prison system. I often wondered as I lay in my cell at night if I would ever break free and if my life would ever change. For too long, it's that it never would. Each time I was released, I struggled to find a better path for myself, to break the cycle of misery and incarceration. But then I would find myself back in prison once more. I wrote this book to tell the story of my journey, not only to freedom, but also to passion and purpose. I hope my story will help you realize how truly valuable your life is and inspire you to think about how you can create a life after prison that is full of meaning and dignity. I want you to know that there are no throwaway people. Your life matters. The final time I was released from prison, I was at last able to get the help that I needed, and began to put my life together. I now know that most incarcerated people, especially women, are survivors of not only poverty, but also of violence and abuse. With help, I was able to understand this and begin to forgive myself for the many choices and disappointments and hurts. Importantly, I also began to understand the larger forces that affected me and my entire family. And this awareness, in turn, led to my political awakening, which grounds and sustains me to this day. Whatever our personal stories and experiences may be, we must all be willing to fight for the right to be the best that we can be. I know it's not easy, but I also know from the many ups and downs of my own life that it can be done. I know that it is possible to fight for yourself, to love yourself, and to find a way up and out. I pray and hope that you enjoy my book and then that it helps you imagine and ultimately achieve a new and different life for yourself. I invite you to join me in the nationwide struggle for the full restoration of our civil and human rights for all formerly incarcerated people. And I want you to know that I'm rooting for you with all of my heart. Sincerely, Miss Burton. So, you know, um, you know, many times we have to fight for the right to be the best that we can be. There's so many things that we walk through and we come up against every day that will pull us down, that will pull us away, that will divert us, that will message to us that, we're not good enough, we're not young enough, we're not slim enough, we're not this enough, we're not that enough, we don't have the right purse, we don't have the right shoes, we don't have the right color, all of these messages. And we have to know that we are enough and that we have to be able to fight for our right to be the best that we can be. So when I went to all of these prisons, everywhere I went, I met women who were cycling in and out of prison just like me and looking for a way up and out, looking for support after they were released from prison. And many of them just begged me with tears falling from their eyes to help them to in their own communities to have a place to go to. And it was heart-wrenching. It was heartbreaking that our nation can invest so heavily in incarceration for drug addiction, incarceration for mental illness, incarceration for protecting yourself from abusers, just all of these different ways that women were being punished. And what I did is I developed a network. The network is called SAFE, Sisterhood Alliance for Freedom and Equality. And what I've done is I have raised money and created a training that helps people who want to develop safe houses in their communities. So since 2018 is when I launched SAFE, and we have 18 homes. We have 18 safe houses all over the nation, and we have one in Uganda and one in Kenya. And SAFE is the replication of the model of a new way of life. You know, I don't know where it's going, but I know that we need to build safety after incarceration, a place to heal, a place to be supported, a place to train, and places to organize. And so that's what I'm doing now. You know, I have a dream of putting training hubs, 10 training hubs in different parts of the country, and inviting and training and organizing and redirecting money out of the criminal justice system back into our communities. And, you know, who would have thought? I'd have never thought, you know, that so much can happen. And it's, yeah, mind you, it's been 20 years and it's long hours, but it's so worth it when, you know, I took a woman last week because I'm still in the day-to-day. I need that day-to-day to see the changes. I took a couple of women to my credit union, and they signed up, and one had been in prison for 19 years. The other had been in prison for 22 years. And my credit union gave them credit cards. It's a $500 limit. Wow. But, you know, it's a bank account and it's a little credit card to start them building. And I just get a kick out of that stuff. I know what can happen, you know, and I know where they can be in 5 or 10 years with a decent start. So, you know, that's, you know, what I do. And what I say, I'm happy, you know, there's not enough hours that I work too long. You know, I mean, we are breathing life back into our community and to the women. I watched last week this woman get her 3 children back through our reunification department. And I know that she'd have never got those children back if we're not advocating for her and standing up for her and with her. Women tell me that I've never been treated so nice by my social worker. And that's a shame. That's a shame. But we're gonna turn it around. I think that what my friend Archie, Ingrid Archie, who's in the prologue of the book, she calls it baby snatching. She's heading up our family reunification work on the advocacy side. But I think that what she calls is baby snatching is a racial justice or racial injustice area that we are not looking at, that we are not, you know, doubling down into and working on. But I think, you know, we'll make it rise to the top. So, so I think I talked too long here.
No, wow, Miss Burton, you are breathing hope to us. I am holding back not to be emotional and cry because I'm supposed to be the professor, but I am holding my tears, and you are breathing hope to us. The inspiring story that you have, every single time I hear it, because I've heard it, I never get tired of hearing it. I watch your videos. I try to follow your events, and it is always so inspiring and hopeful. From the bottom of my heart, I love you so much. I have so much respect for you. And I also wanted to make this announcement because a lot of people are asking how we can help. In Justice Scholars Club, last time we met, we decided that from now on, all the services that we ask, because we have a lot of drives, we have, blanket drives, we have food drives. It's all going to be coming to New Way of Life. And I'm going to contact your management to start creating this channel of services and donation, whether it's finance, monetary, or goods that you need. So this is something that I wanted to announce because I'm getting a lot of questions. How can we help? So we're going to do that. We definitely owe you and the whole society does. And one more thing before I give the floor to the chat our moderators for Q&A is, I promised you that in my program, my goal is, and here are about 90 some students that are reading your book for extra credit. I promised you that I am training social workers that put their heart, conscience, and passion first before everything. I tell them that if you don't have passion and empathy for humanity, you cannot be in this field. So that's my promise to you. And so far, they have been amazing. So I wanted to also introduce the Justice Scholars Club officers. I can't see everybody here, but I want to tell you that the women in this club have done amazing. The leadership of these women from the beginning, without them, I couldn't do it. And not to take away from the leadership of male students or men, but the women have done great. Justice Jessica Martinez is an alumni that still is with us. She graduated, she's one of the founders and still with us. Denise Walker is the president of the club currently. She started with me from the beginning. She's still here. And many others, and one of them that we called our beloved Pastor Cherie, that I'm thinking about her a lot, and she was one of the founders. She just passed away. I don't see a lot of the students on the Zoom, but Brad Olson is here, John is here, Tanu is here, I think Jerry is here. So this inspiration that I have to do this work comes from leaders like yourself and the student leaders that I have. So I cannot thank you enough for your work and what you're doing for society. And now I will stay quiet.
I saw Tanu on the screen. You have organized with us and worked with us, and I love it.
Tanu was actually the person that came to me to my office and said, I know you, because him and I talked a lot about formerly incarcerated, what can we do? And he came and he said, what if we do this? And that it started, as you say, it started with an idea. What if we do this? And how do we do it? Maybe we should go to All of Us or None. And, all of it started like that. And Jessica, Tanu, Denise, Jerry, and many that graduated were the founders of this student association, and they're still here. I remember when I came to see you for the first time, I was trying to not to show you how I'm shaking because I wanted to jump and hug you, and But anyways, enough about my shakiness about seeing a hero. But you are a hero to all of us. People are writing in the chat how you're inspiring us, and I would like to ask Jessica, and I think Dean Sonia is also helping with the questions to see if there are any questions. I received few questions from the students, but Jessica, please go ahead, unmute yourself if you have any questions. And before we end, also Denise Walker will help us to close the program. Go ahead, Jessica.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Burton, for sharing space with us and just speaking truth and just filling our hearts, our minds, our spirits to go forth and do the work. So thank you for sharing this time. I just want to announce if anybody has any questions. I know you received so much praise and love in the chat. Just honoring and showing love to all the work and your resilience and everything that you've done for our community. So thank you so much, Ms. Burton. But please, if anybody has any questions for Ms. Burton, you can go ahead and raise your hand or type something in the chat, and then we can go forth. Susie M., if you can please unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Mandabi, for inviting us here. And thank you so much, Ms. Burton, for your beautiful, inspirational story. I am on the Restorative Justice Committee for the new state chapter of Cure National. It's Cure California.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you know anybody in restorative justice and if you have any tips on how to get started, because we're brand new.
So, what I know is restorative justice is such a needed approach to resolving criminal justice, problems, issues, what have you. So there is a book called, hold on, it's on my nightstand. It's by Danielle Sarid, Common Justice. It's called Common Justice. You might want to get that book and read and about approaches to restorative justice. They'll take, I guess restorative justice in its purity can be very, very effective. But they've taken it and where, you have to be guilty and it has to be a whip up over you before it's ever applied, I think distorts everything that restorative justice is supposed to be about. But Danielle Sarid, and she has worked with some of the most violent acts to take them into the restorative justice realm, and has gotten such great results. So Common Justice is the name of her organization. Oh, the name of her book is Until We Reckon. And I would say get that book, and it's going to tell you a lot about approaches to restorative justice.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Michelle L., I see you have your hand raised. If you can please unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Burton, for sharing and for all of your input. I really appreciate it. I have to admit, your book captured me from the minute I opened it. Thank you, Dr. Magdabi, for having this and for the Justice Scholars. So I have a question. I hope it's not too far off topic. I have a friend who recently just got out of prison from doing 3.5 years, and it was her first time in the system, and she's no longer allowed in the LA County because of her victims put a restraining order on her, and so she's in Orange County, and she's about to enroll in a program that she cannot and will not be able to afford. I was wondering if you know of any resources or how to go about, like, maybe finding a spot out in Orange County.
So I would say that I can't see how people can abolish you or abandon you out of a whole county. I would ask her to call our office, and that number is 323-563-3575. And maybe learn a little bit more about the details of it. It's not going to help her to go into some place that she can't afford, and then it's going to pressure her, to do whatever it is. It's just a setup situation. So ask her to call the office and leave me her number, and I'll see how I can get down to the brass tacks of it.
Definitely will. Thank you, Ms. Burton. Yeah, I actually dropped her off at the program today, and she's going to end up paying like $1,200 a month. Can you repeat that number for me one more time?
323-563-3575. And we charge people at A New Way of Life 30% of their income. If they don't have an income, we don't charge them anything. I think that living in the world, you do have an obligation to pay something, but you shouldn't be. So anyway, tell her to call me. Tell her to call.
Thank you so much, Ms. Burton.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that, Michelle. We have a question submitted by a student. In our college, although we have made great progress, but there is still a lot of work. What tips do you have for professors and administration and staff in Lbcc as to how to support us mentally, academically, and financially?
So I think that, even for staff and even for, whoever you are, you have to have community, and having maybe monthly teas or getting together to talk through and talk about some of the things that you're feeling, some of the people that you're working with, all of that. I think it helps. I have my 12 steps that I go to 2 or 3 times a week. I have a therapist that I get on the call with periodically. I have Insight LA meditation. I have yoga. I have all of this stuff that I do when I need to do it. And then I have a hobby of gardening. So I think that that having community is just important, where you just drop all the big words and you just bare your soul. It's cleansing, it's revitalizing, it's really you feed yourself. So maybe that. And then for the resource wise, perhaps you set up a scholarship fund that you can get resources from, perhaps in the name of the woman that just passed, and you fundraise and develop resources around through that, a scholarship fund. And I know that the governor put money in his budget for I think rebound projects. And I don't know if you all are in rebound. What is it called? Project Rebound.
Project Rebound, yeah.
Project Rebound. So I know the governor put money in the budget last year for Project Rebound. But I think that creatively, creating a scholarship fund that you can use to support the students. I don't know how the finances go through the school or how tough that is, but I can only imagine, because anywhere there's a bureaucracy, there's a bureaucracy. But maybe getting the school to adopt a scholarship fund specifically for the rebound, the scholars program, might be a way to to get resources that you can use for specifically for this program, for formerly incarcerated folks.
Thank you for that, Ms. Burton. Kim Branch, I see you have your hand raised.
I do. Hi, everybody. Ms. Burton, I just want to say And I'm trying not to cry to even say this, but I met an angel. I met an angel today. So thank you.
Thank you, darling. Thank you.
I'm going to follow up with Dr. Madavi, who is a dear friend of mine and a colleague. I teach in Orange County, and I just want to let you know I will follow up. I would love to have you as a guest. So many people need to hear your story.
Great. Great. Thank you, dear. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to intervene. Miss Kim Branch Stewart is the chair of the Human Services Department in Saddleback. She's very modest. I have known Miss Branch Stewart for, I would say, 10 years now. Miss Branch Stewart is why I have the profession that I have. She took me under her wings. She trained me. She hired me as a part-time faculty. And she just taught me everything that I needed to know. And I'm sorry, Miss Kim, I didn't see you. There's just so many people here. I just saw your hand go up. And I have to acknowledge you. She is a well-known social worker. She has an amazing history in social work. She is constantly speaking, and I want to actually invite her next for an event. So yeah, Miss Branch, it's just, I had to mention you and the amazing background that you have to work in this field as a social worker and a social justice fighter. And every time you cry, I want to cry too.
And I did spend years working with women coming out of prisons. I was a director of an agency, Ms. Burton, and I'm sure you're aware of before it was disbanded, the DTF drug treatment furlough programs.
Okay, yes.
So
yes.
I was right. And so I had the honor of greeting women who got off of that little bus in shackles and a muumuu and sometimes without underwear.
Yeah.
And so I was humbled to have a teeny tiny role in helping restore that dignity through compassion and love. So I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you, and I thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. You know, we were able, you might have been familiar with Harbor Area halfway houses.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
absolutely.
It's a funny story that when I was in prison, I was always in prison for a drug charge. Mm-hmm. And I used to pray really, really hard that I would get picked to go there because I'd have a chance.
Yes.
Before just getting off the bus downtown Skid Row.
That's right.
I never got picked to go there. I never, ever got a break in the criminal justice system. It seemed like going to Santa Monica was my life break. So I was ready. It was ready. But what happened in 2015, the board of directors contacted me and asked me to take it over. And so I just laughed when I got off the phone and said, God really has a sense of humor.
Yes. So it's amazing.
We went in and took it over.
That's amazing.
God really has a sense of humor. I couldn't let beds close in LA.
So. Yes, thank you. And Dr. Madavi, thank you for those kind words.
You're an angel too, Miss Kim. And
all
that we have, we just have to keep giving it away.
That's right. That's right. I look forward to meeting you and following up with you again. Thank you so much for filling my heart today.
Yes.
Ms. Burton, I have a question in the chat. Do you believe that the reform in the criminal justice system is real or just a trend? Do you see any changes?
I see changes. You know, what I can say is people are, if it's a trend, people are trending away from punishment. People are trending away from all of the tough on crime policies. And we as community have to keep pushing that where it's not a trend, it becomes a way of life. It becomes the way we operate. It becomes the way we see one another, and how, in a way that we look at what's possible instead of what's impossible, or instead of what's punishment. We have to, so if it's a trend, we have to make that trend a way of life. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I have another question in the chat. What is your take on the riot that happened last year for the Black BLM movement? How far have we come from Watts, and what, in your opinion, still needs work on?
So, our nation is rooted in racism. Our nation is rooted in punishment. Our nation is rooted in violence. And this morning I woke up to the George Floyd trial, and I watched that video, and it was just heart-wrenching to see what happened. And I think that there is like Danielle Steele book, Danielle, Until We Reckon, Danielle's book. We're reckoning with all of this. Have we reckoned? No, we have not. Is things still, pretty, many things has to change, and some hearts and minds probably aren't going to change. I was on the call this morning with Alabama, with some attorneys in Alabama, where I'm trying to get a woman or some women out of prison there that are doing life without the possibility of parole. They got the habitual sentence to a habitual offender. One woman was 16 years old that was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. One woman was her second charge, and she snatched a purse. No, snatching a purse is not right. But do we lock her up for the rest of her life and let her die in prison? Do we give her death by incarceration, or do we rehabilitate? So there's a lot that we have to do. And there's been some acknowledgement and awakening, but we're not nearly there yet.
Thank you for that. CJ, I see your hand raised. If you can please unmute yourself.
Oh, yes. Good afternoon, Ms. Burton. Pleasure to meet you. Well, it's kind of like the question is together. Like when you mentioned about the rise in female incarcerations, do you have like a year, like from when to when, like in what time frame, I guess I'm asking?
Yeah, so I'll start back in the 80s, say 1985 till now. The prison system has risen 700%, and 1.9 million women are released across the nation every year from prison or jail. So I would say 1985 till up until now, 700%.
Okay. Because another question, I was just wanted to, I guess what the other woman was saying about her friend being released from prison, and then she has a restraining order, so she can't return back to the county. So I was in my chat, my question was, Ms. Burton, please answer this legal question as best as you can. Why would someone need a restraining order if they have just been released from a rehabilitation facility such as prison? Because it's not fair,
It's not fair, but it's not fair. So there are times that the victim, they call them the victim of the person, puts out a restraining order, or when you're about to get released, the victim is notified, and that victim will say, file papers to say, don't come to this area. So I could see an area like Long Beach or Montebello or Beverly Hills, but the entire county, That's a big area. So that's why I want her to call me and we can see if there can be some intervention with her parole agent or her probation officer to say she has a safe place here. We'll provide shelter and support for her. And what is the area? You can't say a whole damn county.
Right, because if it wasn't in the stipulation, I mean, I don't know about her case, but did it actually say, okay, you're gonna do 10 years in prison? And also when you get out from rehabilitation, you're also gonna be stuck with more than likely a restraining order. It doesn't make sense.
But again, when they are released and there's a victim involved, there's a whole victims unit that notifies the victim. The person say, if I beat somebody up, the victim's department will notify that person and let them know you're about to get released. And then that person can actually file for a keep away or a restraining order or something to that sort. So it doesn't have to happen at time of sentencing is what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you.
Before Jessica asks the next question, because for the sake of time, I would love to ask all of your questions from Ms. Burton, but because we don't have enough time, please put your questions, write it down on the chat box. And if we don't get to ask your question, I will make sure I send an email to Ms. Burton and okay, somebody was having
Michelle.
Yeah, go ahead, Jessica. So just for the sake of time, put your questions in the chat room and I will do my best to get the answer for you later, if not today.
Saint Wolf, I see that you have your hand raised. If you can please unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you so much. I will try and be quick. Thank you, Ms. Burton, for being here. Really appreciate you. I'm a child of an incarcerated parent, so this really hits home for me. I'm also an artist, so I want to reach out to you and see if you would be willing to do. I'm a photo artist. I'd like to do a piece centered around you and these women, and the women, excuse me. If I don't want to draw too much on your time, but I'm feeling very inspired by this. And I think you said something about not being able to change people's hearts. And I think as an artist, that's my job. And I would like the opportunity to try and to do that.
Okay. So could you email me through info at anewwayoflife.org?
Awesome. Thank you so much.
It's on the website, yeah, and I think art is important. Art, videography, and all of that is really important. So yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I apologize for all the questions that I couldn't get to, but Ms. Burton, I know there's a lot of questions about how can people get involved or how can they personally volunteer or offer any type of service?
Yeah, so we have a couple of ways. I guess we're coming off of COVID because we've been locked down. So, as Saint just said, if there's something that you specialize, especially do, let us know. And then you can go to the website there's a form that lets us know what your area where you want to volunteer. And then we have a legal clinic that we do, and we train you to support to actually help us expunge people's criminal record. I think it's good training. I know it's good training for social work to understand how to do that. So in our legal clinic, that's another area that we would love volunteerism in. And so, I just can't say blanketly, do this, do that, do this, but I'd love to follow up with folks that want to get involved in some way. And actually, we're looking for a person to we're looking for a couple of staff members in our housing department. So if people want to send resumes to careers adanewwayoflife.org. That would work too. So yeah.
Thank you for that. I see Nzuji. She just raised her hand. Forgive me if I said that wrong.
Thank you for even trying. That was awesome. I get so many versions of my name. That was the closest one. Thank you so much. And for Dr. Burton, thank you so much for coming up and being so open to us and all the information you're giving. Coming from a different perspective, I was never incarcerated in my life, thank goodness, but I do have a lot of students. I'm a professor at Long Beach City College in the art department. And I do get a lot of students that were incarcerated or are still incarcerated. And I have to say, just being honest here, I don't even know how to approach them. It's just because it seems to me like they feel like an entity from outer space. I don't know. I'm just being honest, right? I don't know how to talk to them, or I'm trying to be empathetic of their issues, of course, but surely opening up those traumas will bring a whole different cans of worms. So how do we as instructors, professors, how do we approach people of that nature? I mean, giving us any advice at this point?
So, like the letter that I read, that, you have to let them know that life ain't easy and they have to fight. They have to fight for the right to be the best that we can be. And nobody, and they have to give their own self permission to be. There is, everybody has different effects from being incarcerated. And it shows up in different ways. So there is not just no one thing I can tell you, but, the shame that's associated with it. And that shame kind of comes from the way that you're treated inside, as if you're less than human and an animal. So just reinforcing that, the how much value that they have, and how, much they're needed and wanted, can help with that. But what's done to people inside is horrible. And so there's a healing journey that we all have to get on.
And it's quite unfortunate for me, because since I don't know, we follow the same stereotypes. People incarcerated are evil or mean or bad, and then we just don't want to approach them. But then again, they're human beings. And in some sense, that's one reason I wanted to be here and to know more. It's like, I don't want to treat them as these monsters or these aliens. I want to make sure they're in my class and they're safe, and they're can express as much as they want.
Yeah, there's
I just wanted to ask.
There's a book that's recently written called Halfway Home, and it talks about the journey of freshly released people and what they experience and go through. And a lot of times just giving people passes and allowing them to be imperfect without punishment is something, because people have been punished so much. But there's no one thing. It's a journey to getting beyond the feelings of isolation and of being treated as almost like an animal.
That's right, unfortunately. Well, Professor, also, I don't want to mispronounce your name, because I know people mispronounce my name all the time, but I try to, it's okay. But can you help me? So, because I wanted to answer you, can I pronounce your name correctly? Can you help me?
Sure, Nzuji.
Professor Nzuji, we have been on the campus for almost 6 years. It's really hard to get our name across for exactly the same thing as the stigma. And for us to have this visibility It was such an uphill battle. We had to fight. And, but I just recently in Flex Day had a workshop, and the title was How to Work with Formerly Incarcerated Students on Campus. And I had students' voices there too. So please, and there's going to be follow-up and some other workshops coming up. So please reach out to me. I would love to get you involved. I would love for the students to have more support, because we are there. The social justice scholars program is there. Dean De La Torre can talk about that more. The club is there. There are services there, and my hope is that these programs will make professors to actually reach out to us, so we can also reach out to you and your students. That's one of the goals that we have here. So yeah, and for the sake of time, again, I really appreciate all the faculty that is here. I don't see everybody on my Zoom, but I really appreciate the interest that the faculty shows to come for our support. Support is one of the most important things that build the trust for the students that come from the incarcerated population. But I don't know, Jessica, if you have any more questions or not. I would like to ask Ms. Burton if Ms. Burton has any closing remarks for us, and then I would like to ask Ms. Denise Walker to close the program for us.
Ms. Burton, if you have any closing words that you would like to bless us, grace us with, we would appreciate it.
No, I just want to thank everybody who is here. You, Dr. Anahita.
Anahita is fine, Ms. Burton.
Okay. All right. And everybody here. It's been just really, really great. It's good to see you, Tanu. We miss you at All of Us or None. I'm just really, really pleased with how far Long Beach has came. Yeah. And you know, I know you're a part of that, Tanu. So yes.
Tanu, go ahead. Give us a few words.
Come on, Tanu.
Go, Tanu.
It's so amazing to be here. We talk about years, and Susan and Professor Madavi in Long Beach City, Jessica, you've seen me go in and out. You know, I'm a product of the system that just, addiction is a part of my life. And, you know, when I get hurt and when I share my story over and over, like Susan said, it's like digging that scab and opening it up every day over and over. And so, you know, I'm still trying to find my voice, but, you know, All of Us or None and Susan Burton, Professor Madavi, I still come back, whether I'm quiet or not. I'm hoping that my pulse is still beating with all of you. I said from the beginning, each one teach two. It's because, Susan, you taught me how I needed to live my life with forgiveness and love. Even when you took me to New York, like, I still came back and still couldn't love myself. But it took this whole community to really say that, Tanu, you're not terminally unique. We love you. And then to begin to now embrace systems impacted, right? How are we suffering from collateral consequences? Every day I get shattered, because now that I'm continually fighting back within my own demons, right? How to get back to the Tanu. I see the struggle, what we started with. You talked about staying with the movement. And then I see Long Beach City 6 years later. Thank you, women, seriously. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, all of you, you know, De La Torre, all of you, I don't know even half the people that are here, but we started off with All of Us or None. And when we read, we say, all of us or none. All of us or none. And it just, it sits behind me every day, because there's still that scared Tanu that doesn't want to come out. And I'm listening to my brothers in San Francisco that just came out from serving life. And he's helping walk my Asian Pacific Islander elderly people out in San Francisco. And I'm here in ODR, I'm trying to rehabilitate myself again. But I really want to get back, but I got to be good to myself first. And Susan, when I hear you, you breathe and you beat in me. I may not talk to you, but when I'm out there acting a fool, let me tell you, I hear your voice. Back there, Tanu. You know, I hear Long Beach City College still behind me. I'm always going to be a Viking, because it wasn't about just creating a club. It was about building the movement. And who was I teaching? And who taught me? Because what you taught me was freely given. So now it's up to this whole entire community to step up. Each one teach two. Teach yourselves to love yourself and value that voice, and teach someone else how to love themselves and value their voice. And that became my little volunteer to Jessica. Like I was telling Jessica, every meeting, each one teach two. And you know what? That's what building the movement's about.
Right.
We will never plateau. We will never plateau. I love you.
Tanu. That's why we missed you. Love you too. We missed you. We missed you. We can't wait to get you back in our meetings. So now I would like to invite Miss Denise Walker. And Miss Burton, are you okay with us to have closing remarks? Is there anything you want to say before I ask Denise Walker to close the session for us?
No, I'd love to hear Denise.
All right, thank you. Denise, please go ahead. My wonderful, amazing Madam President of the Justice Scholars Club.
I'm not sure if you want to hear me because I can talk.
I always want to hear you. Always. I always want
an hour about what I've just heard. And first, I would like to thank you, Ms. Burton. I've known you indirectly because I've been getting correspondence from A New Way of Life since the pandemic, but I just didn't put it together, so I really want to thank you for everything that you've done, all the work that you've put into the underserved communities and populations. And I want to thank you for all of your resources, even to myself. Yeah. I want to thank you. I was sitting here just taking notes, when you begin to speak, you begin to speak my story. It wasn't everything, but 90% of your story was my story. And I'm just sitting here like, are you kidding me? So I understand, and I'm a product of Shields for Families. Okay. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with that program, but I'm a product of Shields for Families. So I went through a lot of the same things as well. I just want to thank you for being here. I'm really hoping that you will come back, Professor. I want to thank all of the staff and the students for attending. I especially want to thank the Justice Scholars for being here. We couldn't do any of this without you. I want to thank my beautiful, lovely, strong support system, Professor Mahdavi, who has always been there for us to support us in everything that we do. In regards to the art professor, we as the Justice Scholars, what you said about the way that you didn't want to treat the student, the ex-con, or you might want to say, we have the support. That's why we have the support. That's why we have the Justice Scholars Program, so that we can be there to support one another. Because when I first got to Long Beach City College, I didn't say anything. I kept everything to myself. I didn't want to share my information. But today, I will share my information and I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel bad. I have a support system. I thought that I couldn't go to school. I make excellent grades. I'm an A student with the exception of a B. I'm an A student, so it's possible. I don't feel like a failure anymore, but I have the support. I have the support. I feel good about myself. I love my fellow club members. I love my professor. She'll always be my professor. We've come a long way. And Miss Burton, I thank you so much for being here. I just thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I need your book. I want to read it. I love A New Way of Life. I just got a call the other day about an appointment Monday. So I love what you're doing about that. You've just everything during the pandemic, you know, the assistance with utilities and just everything, you know. I just really appreciate the work that you've done and the work that you're doing for people like me, for people that have gone through the system like me, for people that have been incarcerated like me, for people that needed advocacy for their children like me. I just thank you. You know, I just thank you, because we need it. And we need more Susan Burtons out there. We really do. We really do. Thank you so much. I'm sorry?
The more Susan Burton is you. Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm gonna email you after all this. I'm gonna call you. I'm just putting a face with the program. I didn't know that you were A New Way of Life, but I've been getting so much correspondence from your program. I just didn't know it was you. So yes.
Thank you so much, Denise. That's the amazing president of the Justice Scholars Club. We are blessed with having these beautiful, beautiful students. I want to thank Denise again. I want to thank Jessica. As an alumni, you keep coming back. She was one of the presidents of the club as well. Under the leadership of Jessica and Denise, we literally bloomed, and we have a lot more visibility. So absolutely go women. I might be biased, but that's fine. I can have a bias too.
Go woman, go woman.
Go woman, go woman. And one of the things that we do here is that, you know, working on that internal stigmatization. The society feeds us so much stigma that we internalize it. So here our goal is to show the humanity in every single individual, whether they are incarcerated or not, the humanity. And what I've worked with, whether as a clinician in the juvenile system or drug court system, or as an educator with formerly incarcerated student, was nothing but beautiful, brilliant human beings inside and out. And you see them here. And Ms. Burton, you are again breathing hope to us. I am so honored that you accepted our invitation. And absolutely, once we go back, hopefully we can bring you back so we can give you hugs as well, you know, not just virtual hugs. And I would like to thank Dean Sonia. Thank you so much, Dean Sonia. And I hope that, Dean Sonia, we can start a good relationship with New Way of Life, because the program has a lot of more ability to start resources and provide. And, you know, maybe we can do a lot more collaboration. And as I said, Ms. Burton, we are going to have every semester we want to be at service. So our club from now on, I will contact you and ask you, what do you need from us? Is it Christmas gifts? Is it blankets? Is it money? Is it hygiene for anything you want? Because we have been very successful in the past with all these, what do you call it? Drives, and we will do it again. So
Dr. Madavi, this is Angela. My name is Angela, and I work in.
Hi, Angela. Hi, Miss Angela.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Angela.
Good evening, everyone. And I'm so inspired and just encouraged by everybody who's participating, the guests and everybody. And I would like to offer the first $1,000 for the scholarship. If you guys want to put a scholarship together for Cherie Guillory, I would be interested in putting up the first $1,000 for that scholarship.
Absolutely, Miss Angela, we can work on that. Miss Angela is a financial aid specialist in Long Beach City College. Again, her name comes up a lot. She's an amazing support for our students as well. We can definitely talk about that. And we want to do things like that, Miss Burton. We want to raise money. We want to.
I am so inspired. You see that? We got the scholarship going. That's
right.
Great. Thank you, Angela.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Angela. I'll contact you and we can follow up on that. So before I say goodbye, I really want Miss Burton for you to just with few words close the session for us, because you bring so much hope to us.
You know, I guess, you know, I'm just inspired just by this talk tonight. We've, think about what's possible, and not only what's possible, and what's happening. We have a scholarship for formerly incarcerated people being developed, as we speak. Don't let doubt and fear overshadow the miracles that work through you to another human being, to another situation. Don't allow don't allow the sun not to shine through you. Be the most courageous, best person that you can be, and walk in the sunlight, and that's all I have to say. It's been great. It's been beautiful for me to be here tonight with all of you. It's just been great. It's just been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Burton. Thank you, everybody. I don't know if Miss Sonia, do you have anything to say before Dean Sonia, before we leave?
Oh my goodness, that's really hard to follow. I had chills from just the entire event and your closing remarks. Miss Burton, I wrote that down. Don't allow doubt and fear to stop you from impacting the lives of others and having the sunshine. And so just thank you so much for all the ways in which you have inspired all of us today. Thank you, Dr. Mahdavi, for helping facilitate this session and bringing this wonderful educational opportunity to Long Beach City College. And I look forward to collaborating, and I wish everyone to be well and safe. Thank you all for your support.
Thank you, Dr. Anahita. Yeah. Doctor, it's so great. All right.
Thank you so much, Miss Burton. I will contact you. I'll stay in contact.
Please do. Thank you.
I will. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.